my husband and I have been renovating houses and selling them, you know,
Right.
just in
Yeah.
our own personal home and a hobby and sort of, you know, that sort of thing. And so I had a friend approach me about investing, and he's also in the investment world, just like we are, finding properties for institutional buyers and so forth. And so he noticed that we were coming across all these deals that didn't work for our buyers, but were still a good deal, mainly tenant occupied,
Right.
which is kind of how you also got started as well. So we
Yeah.
started buying them and
Yeah.
rolled along. But what I didn't think about at the time was that helps me help my clients. So by actually doing it myself, it's not
Right.
like I didn't understand the numbers or didn't understand rehabs or whatever, but when you really, you know, take in the hit financially when an HVAC goes out or something like that, like
Right.
I feel like I'm a better advocate for my buyers, or have a better understanding and awareness
Right.
about
Yeah.
all of it, you know, where I thought
Yeah.
I did before because I had the data and that kind of thing. But now
You're not
it's
just an agent that's like, hey, these numbers
this is
work. Like,
cool.
why are you
Yeah.
not buying this deal?
Yeah.
It's like, I kind of get it now.
Yeah, like I understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Like having an agent that's also an
Yeah.
investor themselves
Yeah.
and can understand it. I mean,
People
you-
appreciate that, but then they also worry that I'm just like out there buying up
Why
all the
didn't
best
you buy
deals.
it?
Why don't you
Right.
buy it? If you didn't buy it, then like it must be bad. Which is
Right.
totally not true.
Right.
I don't have all the money in the world. You know,
Right.
it's just certain things that don't work out. Everybody's buy box is different. I mean, even
Right.
like you and I, like there's all kinds of people. We're all out there looking
Right.
to invest in real estate. It's a good thing to do. So there's enough opportunities for everybody out
Oh,
there.
yeah.
You know,
More than
so
enough.
what works for one
Yeah.
doesn't work for another. You know.
there's more than enough for everyone, but also you kind of mentioned you and your husband doing this for a while recreationally and whatever.
Yeah.
What makes me sad to think about is like, I do think it is getting harder and harder for younger people to do it that way.
Yeah.
Like I've said it before, I'm worried that the days of, you know, having an Uncle Joe that's got 5 rentals, or like knowing, you know, Tony and he's got 7 rent houses, and that's kind of how it's been previously. But all of those people are aging out and they're selling those packages to people like me,
us,
or
yeah.
or companies, you know, these big investment companies. And those houses are removed from the market, like, so to speak, and won't be coming back for the most part. You know, BlackRock goes and buys a package of 200 houses. Like, those houses are rentals until the day they are demolished, barring something weird that I don't foresee happening. Because even me on a micro scale of that, it gets to a point where it doesn't make sense to sell those assets because it makes more sense to keep them as an asset on the balance sheet and borrow against them if you need money. That transaction's way easier to just use it as an asset on the balance sheet and borrow money against it. But it's also not taxable like a sale would. So it literally just kind of gets to the point where we already have a housing shortage. Investment companies are still rapidly scaling up their growth, even in this market where people are freaking out about interest rates.
Yeah.
There is still a ton of dry powder being allocated by these large investment funds into housing in all shapes and forms, single family, multifamily, commercial, whatever. And so that gap between, it's just kind of eliminating that starting point for a lot of,
Affordable housing is going away.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here and everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, as soon as Wall Street realized that it's a very valuable asset class, that ticking time bomb like started ticking down.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of sad.
Yeah,
Like
it is sad.
My encouragement about that is there's still time. There's still time for your typical person to get into this.
I agree.
But that window, especially depending on where you're at, I think that window is almost closed in some markets. And why that is, you know this, but I'm just explaining it, is
Yeah.
these people, like if you had somebody that was looking for a $100,000 house 2 years ago, that conversation then was likely like, this is going to be tough. Because I know who you're competing against, and it's cash offers, close in 7 days, and like no home inspection, no any of the bank appraisal stuff.
Yeah.
you are going to have a really tough time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why we're saying this window's closing. And that's in Arkansas, where that price point is still really low for an entry-level home if you want one. In these other markets, like some markets in Arizona, California, New York, Texas, whatever, I mean, you name it, Florida, that entry price point is much higher, and it's still becoming like harder and harder. So I'm just like, I'm convinced one of the best things you can do for the future, for yourself and for your family, is to figure out a way to get some of these houses for yourself.
Yeah.
Because no one can predict the future, but it very well may be next to impossible for like my children to buy a home.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just got to find a way.
Yeah. It's just getting started.
Yeah. Get an agent
If
like
we can
Tara
do
that
it,
can help you.
you can do it.
Right.
No, I completely agree. And if you really think about it, whether it's their main gig or a side gig, most of the wealthy people that own real estate.
Yeah.
And like over time, they don't let it worry them. Like maybe there's going to be a downturn or an upturn. Like in general, it's a way to build wealth. And,
Right. Protect wealth long term.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it for my kids too. I'm not worried about day to day what each, rental is producing or so forth, I mean, obviously I'm keeping an eye on it, but it's
you have to
in
shepherd
general,
it well while you're
watching
in control
other
of it.
people, watching these other investors do it and helping them build their portfolios. I was like, this is good. I think I need to be doing this for my children.
Right.
Yeah.
Investing in especially single family rent houses is not a get rich quick scheme.
No.
It is not something where I need my bills paid in 3 months. So like I'm getting into real estate right now.
I think that's a huge misconception. I think people think of that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, so-and-so, he has 10 rent houses. He must just be like really rich, super rich. Absolutely not. He probably is spending all that profit
He's
back
hoping to
in. He's
cover
rolling
his
it back
overhead every
into
month.
his properties.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's net worth building, but it is not like cash in your wallet today building.
Yeah. So do it now.
There's other ways to do that. I mean, I would say you have to split real estate investors into two very broad categories. There's people that have a career that pays them well and spends off extra cash to invest in real estate. And then there are people that are real estate investors, and that's what they do for money.
Yeah.
And that's just two immediate broad categorizations. There's nothing wrong with either, but it's important to like know where you're at. If you're going to go down the real estate only route, it is tough.
Yeah.
And you need to have a mix of that long-term equity, buy and hold rentals for future sake. But in the meantime, you also need to figure out like, can I like flip some properties? Can I owner finance? Can I do some of these?
You've got to get creative. You got to do a few things. You can't just,
Right. Because those rentals, especially starting out, you've got one, then you get to two. I mean, they're not going to pay you money to live on.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely
just
not.
not the
We've
way
talked
it's gonna
about
work.
this so many times.
Right.
I know.
It's just like not going to work. I mean, for me,
not
like,
that we thought it would be that way, but definitely when you're in the trenches and you're doing it, that's why I can help my clients, because I'm like, hey, you got to have like a lot of these, or let's find one to flip, or what about some other options or whatever. Or when they come to me looking for that, I'm like, I get it, I understand.
Right.
You're
Because it's
trying to
even
generate
worse
some
than
income.
it's even worse than I thought. Like you have to have even like more than I thought.
Yeah.
To really like
It's funny because
be okay.
when I first started buying a few investment properties, my business partner was like, have some, like I knew they were good deals. I was like, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, well, aren't like, I want you to have more opinions. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'll have some opinions once we get going. Like, I'm just one of those people, like, you just get in and do it, and then you figure it out from there. It's just that's the way I learned.
Right.
So that's what we did. And so now I'm like, oh, HVACs. Like, I can see why, you want to replace that. Like, they would always break on a Sunday when it was 100 degrees outside. Yeah, when it's super expensive to pay a contractor to get out there. Just things like that you learn.
Right.
Or the minute you take over a property, then, the tenant has 1,000 complaints. And initially I was like, oh my gosh, what did we buy? And it's like, no, it's just the process. It's kind of how it happens. And,
I would like to know the stats on like how many stoves go out on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I know.
Because I feel like it
lot.
is not 1/365th. Like that is not a linear stat. Like more stoves go out on Thanksgiving, I feel like, than any other day of the year. It's like, how is that possible?
I know.
Thanks for watching. If you liked that video as much as we liked making it, be sure to check out another one. You've got one here. You got another one over here. If you want to listen to the podcast audio only, go check out the Spotify link in the description. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. It helps us out a ton. And please hit the bell if you want notifications anytime we drop a new video. Hope to see you on the next one.